Dr. Shubhangini and Dr. Abhijit spoke about how technology has changed the way we learn. The massive open online courses that we have today, we are spoiled for choice, and I can't help agree more, because that's the way we are. I mean, it's just not about learning. I think technology has started ruling our lives as well. Because I often tell my daughter, she's 16-year-old, I said, you've taken your biology lessons very seriously. We were all told, and we were taught that cell is the fundamental unit of life in our biology classes. And today, our lives revolve around the cell. I mean, that's how it is. So we must admit that, and we must, as learning professionals, learning enablers, L&D leaders, facilitators, help them access those information as and when they want. Knowledge consumption has, of course, become very short. People, smartphones, tablets, iPads, internet, Twitter, all that we heard in the last few hours. People want instant access to knowledge, instant access to information. Hence, they want learning also to be instantaneous. That's where the role of L&D leaders and facilitators and suppliers like us, we really play a really active role. Personally, I think if you ask me, I would rather read 5 short stories by 5 different authors rather than sit through a novel for 20 days. I mean, I get different perspectives when I hear 5 different people. I get different insights, I get to see different styles, and I think that's what learning is all about today. So I would say it's a fine balance between speed and quality, or speed and excellence, and it's not easy, but then that's where we will all have to strive as learning professionals. Both Dr. Shubhangini and Dr. Abhijit spoke about the different options that we have in the market today. I mean, the various choices that we have to enable this kind of learning, which can make it more instantaneous, on the demand, on the fly, whatever be it. But probably I will spend a couple of minutes talking about how do we really actually implement it in our organization. How do we really use technology to the best of the ability and make it, if I can say, we have been fairly successful in doing so. So what are some of those aspects which make it really successful? Moving on, just to give you the context, it helps to say where I'm coming from, so that you know why blended learning, why virtual learning is really so important in an organization. Quick introduction to our organization. We are close to 128,000 people organization, headquartered in France, Paris. We are an IT multinational, very much in the league of the other pure play companies that you see here today, in the business of consulting, technology and outsourcing and BPO services as well. India constitutes close to 1/3 of the population. We are close to about 48,000 in India. And of course, that makes it even more important for us to see how we could address the needs of the training needs of our folks within India. And very much, although we are so diverse, what really holds us together is the principle behind it, something that we call the collaborative business experience. And what we mean by saying this is, we always tell our partners, our clients, look, we will work with you to offer solutions rather than we provide some solutions to you. So it's always there is some kind of element of partnership, collaboration that takes place, and we really practice it in spirit. You can see that in our brand promise, you see that in our organizational values, and we, in fact, even imbibe that in some of our learning experiences as well. Probably when I run through some of the ways we deliver learning, we'll see that collaboration and that synergy really coming out very strongly. And I'll also have to spend a little time on what our learning delivery mix is, so that we move on to how we really deliver this blended learning aspects. Clearly, India being the largest consumer in terms of population, we are quite big. Hence, you also see us consuming the largest learning hours, close to about 56 learning hours per employee is what we clock every year. And of course, India has the largest number there. But in terms of the mix, which I would like to just spend a couple of minutes, given the fact that we are diverse, there are every chance that people start building their own courses, delivering the courses the way they need. The fact that we are spread with footprint in 33 countries, it makes it very difficult to bring in some consistency and quality there. And that's where the university has a role to play, to say, look, for very key roles which really require rigor and quality, we will have an overarching, what something called the global curriculum that we have in place, which means the content that goes into it, the facilitators or the trainers who deliver this are all certified by the university, so that irrespective of whether it is delivered in China, India, Poland, there is always a consistency and quality that in the courses that we deliver. And we have that for very, very critical roles, especially sales, project managers, and we call them engagement managers. We have that for the architects, the solution architects, and many of the leadership courses that we have, we do have that under the global curriculum umbrella. And so if we were to look at the 4.2 million hours of learning that we deliver, about 48% of that comes from the global curriculum. And then each of the country have their own needs. It could be technology driven, it could be soft skills driven. They do have their own local curriculum, which is what is in green. And of course, we spend 11% of the courses that we deliver clearly goes external. Most of it is given to our own practitioners. And when I say practitioners, they are not trainers by profession, but people sitting in the business who come forward to deliver all these trainings. And I think that's where most of the learners get more successful. In terms of virtual and classroom mix, that's another key aspect for us. The fact that we are so diverse, the fact that there are all billable opportunities there who need to be with a client 8 hours a day, cannot step into a classroom for 5 days, makes it important for us to see how we could go the blended learning way. And we started off somewhere in 2009, 2010 by introducing some of the courses, the e-learning courses, and that's where we used to clock about 80 to 19% of virtual curriculum. And today I think we are fairly successful to have driven close to 33-39% of our global, the courses that we offer is all delivered virtually. And many times I hear, is India market really tuned to virtual learning, e-learning? But I think based on my experience, I think, yes, I think we have been fairly successful in helping our people go through virtual learning very successfully. The outcomes have been quite tangible as well. And in fact, while globally it is 33%, in India we deliver close to about 42% of what we offer is all delivered virtually. It's not been easy, been a long journey, but then it's been possible to some extent, hopefully, but there's still a long way to go. And again, we deliver virtual learning not because everybody is going that way or the industry is moving that way, simply because the business imperatives demand us to go that way. As I told you, the cost is definitely one of the key factors. People cannot physically travel to each location. The fact that they are all people working on technologies which change every day. I mean, they want something that they can learn quick, go back, work on the job and come back. Not that they want to sit through a 5-day training and then decide what is it that they want to implement. So things have become fine. I know you will have to improve your communication skills, but does that really help you perform better? I mean, if I were to go and ask his manager, he would say, I would rather invest on his analytical skills. Of course, that can help him better his analytical skills because that's his role. So we don't hesitate to go back and tell the employee, look, your individual development plan is good enough, but then if it doesn't support the business objective, let's not pick it up now. So, I mean, that's the language that we use often to tell our employees that learning should always be tied to one of the business objectives. So clearly there is the need to strike a balance between the business needs as well as the employee needs, and everybody demands that they get something immediate, quick, faster, which they can pick and move on. So, I think we've heard a lot about this. Options are plenty in the market and everybody knows what it is. But what excites us and what makes it interesting for us in Capgemini is how we really use this technology. It's not the technology, but how we leverage technology that makes it really interesting. So, in fact, we have all of this as part of our offerings, but But I think the key is how do you really blend them at appropriate moment and make it work. In fact, I think it's about a few weeks back that we also launched a formal virtual campus, because our university, so-called, is physically located in France, but not all of them can make it there. 120,000 employees. So how do we really bring that university experience on your desktop? And that's the virtual campus that we launched last week as well. But it's not again about that virtual campus, it's about how do you really use technology in the virtual campus to make learning more effective. And that's where I would like to spend a minute here. As I said, it's about how we leverage technologies. And the underlying principle that we have for all our courses, irrespective of whether it is a classroom training, whether it's a blended learning, there are 3 key principles that we follow. One is definitely, we are all adult learners. Put the employees in the driver's seat. Let him learn. Let him find out what's available. And let's challenge him to ask the questions that matter to business. So it's all about do, learn, do. You come into a classroom or you get into an online course, learn something, but go back and apply that and come back into the class. So the do, learn, do attitude is about creating entrepreneur spirit, if I may call it, and that's what we call it. How do we create that kind of behavior? Because learning and development professionals, how many would be in a department, in an L&D department? One can't really catch hold of everyone and make them learn, but somewhere we need to inject that kind of behavior. The second is, like I think we heard everybody saying this, it's important as adult learners. It's not about somebody standing on this stage and talking. It's about enabling that environment, giving them the ecosystem where they connect and learn from each other. A lot of learning happens when you really connect with your peers, when you enable them to connect with their colleagues and people who have gone through that. So every learning that we do, every program that we do has an element of connect in it. So, and the third one, obviously, which we are talking today is let's get technology, make it mandatory part of their learning. So how do we really enable them to use technology to the best of their ability? So I have a couple of examples where I can show you some of those. We clearly have these 3 driving principles as part of our learning program. So we have been doing that for the last 2-3 years, and that's where when you say connect to learn, you may not be necessarily connecting with your colleagues. It could be looking at those massive open online courses where you connect with peers outside your community, outside your organization. So how do we really enable all of this to make it work? So that brought us to something called, what we blended learning is, we call it as the facilitated virtual learning journey. We call it a journey because we realize that a 3-day classroom is not going to fetch much for you. We call it virtual, facilitated virtual, because it's just not left alone. We don't need you to go ahead and go through a couple of e-learning courses, but that somebody facilitating that learning journey for you. And we believe that that human angle, the human touch, is important, irrespective of whether you're going through a massive open online course or it's on your e-learning, whether it's on your virtual campus. There has to be somebody who can facilitate that learning for you. Otherwise, our experience has shown that people are asked to go through an e-learning course. Some of them do it, some of them don't do it. Some of them can get into a webcast, but they may be doing multiple things as the webcast is going on. So how do you really engage, connect people as they take these learning journeys? So I think a couple of key factors which really make it very different. One is, there is no trainer here. We don't call him a trainer. He's a facilitator, facilitating the conversation. So that's one. The second is, there are synchronous and asynchronous elements in it, but the key is it's more of a flipped curriculum, if I may call it. We don't want him to come into a webcast or virtual learning classroom and teach him about principles of performance management. He can go through any book and read what is performance management in an organization. That doesn't really help him. So we ensure that he gets those opportunities much before he walks into the class. So he's asked to go through a couple of e-learning modules, go through a couple of videos, books, and then the group comes into the virtual mode. They connect, we use sometimes the Microsoft Live meeting, sometimes the other they connect to really make that happen. Now we have the virtual campus. So they come virtually, sit on the desktops and come virtually for 2 hours, maybe once a month or twice a month. And then it's that time when we really talk about getting one of the practitioners or one of the leaders to talk about what is this experience of performance management being in the organization, or facilitate a conversation with those set of 20, 30 folks who are on the phone to really talk about their war stories, their success stories of having done an effective performance management of their team. So the integrator here is not the trainer, the integrator is the content. So I think that's the key in terms of how a facilitated virtual learning journey really works. And we do very little to build content. We do all that's available in the world. I mean, access to information is everywhere. So it's not about content creation anymore. It's about content curation. So we get the content available from different repositories wherever they are available, make it available to them and say, go ahead and do all of this before you come into the virtual class. The virtual class is all about discussing your experiences, sharing your experiences, and that's where you see the real collaboration happening. And they learn from their peers, they learn from their managers, and then they go back and start implementing it, and they come back again. So I think that's what really makes this work. And especially when you're doing this for a long period, if it's 1 or 2 virtual touch points, fine. But when you need to really hold that group together for a period of 3 to 6 months, there are various other aspects that make it really engaging for them. And I'll touch upon some of them. So it's a facilitator and not the trainer. It's about the content that connects them, and it's not about the trainer that connects them. Very self-directed learning approach, if I may call it. Just took an example to cite an example which makes it easy to relate. I have 2 cases here. One is a very simple business writing course, and the other one I have is more on a leadership program that we have. So I wouldn't want to get into the principles again in terms of how we do it, but even a simple business writing course, we have been able to run this through a facilitated virtual learning journey. In fact, this course is not a standalone course. In fact, this is one of the many interventions for any new consultant to become ready to face a client. So as all our consultants who are working on key projects will have to mandatorily go through this course so that they are ready to meet a client within the first 8 months of their induction into the organization. So this element is in fact one part of the learning journey that goes through them. So what we do is we very clearly have something called a kickoff as part of their virtual classroom 1, which is of course synchronous. We get them together, we let them know what the intent is, why it is happening, and how important it is from an organization perspective. And then one of the key elements that make such learning journeys successful is the fact that there are assessments. Otherwise, with diverse audience, you never know how they are performing. So very clearly, online assessments are introduced as part of that. Post that, for a period of 4 to 6 weeks, because we have seen that you can make them walk into a class for 2 days, tell them what grammar, business writing, proposal writing is, but then do they really apply? We have not seen them doing it. So we hold them together for a period of 4 to 6 weeks, and that's where we really talk about some of those aspects of business writing, where they come back and they're given some assignments. They come back into a virtual mode for 2 hours in a week and really show what they have made out of their assignments. Or there's a facilitator who comes and gives a feedback on all the assignments that he has seen. So all of the 30 of them get to know what's went wrong, what's going well, what are some of those learnings, and they go back and apply that. And even in some cases, there's a business which comes and gives them certain assignments to make sure that they're really taken back what they have learned as part of the 4 to 6 weeks. So English language, grammar, business writing, the Capgemini way of probably putting a proposal together for your clients, all this is part of this 4 to 6 weeks learning journey. So they learn those principles, come back, share their experience, probably see one of the best proposals that we have, over the virtual learning session, see how that's different from what they are putting together, and that's the collaborative learning experience that we are talking about. And then they again come back sometime 3 weeks later to talk about how they can move on to the next level of their learning. So again, it's a facilitator who keeps these people together that makes it really successful. So assessments definitely help. Being able to tune them and give them the mindset in terms of what can you expect in the next few weeks and how important it is, and to be able to tie that to some of their performance or some of the things I think we could probably keep in mind if we have to implement a learning journey like this. And the other one, which is a little complicated, is something that we have done for our leadership program, where we had to get some of the consultants to move, the potential bright ones to move into the next role, to take up the next grade as managers. So obviously, I mean, we said we started off this as an 18-month, but then as we went by, we realized that it would be best done within a period of not more than 8 to 10 months. Beyond that, it becomes difficult, irrespective of how engaging you are and all the technologies that you use. The fact that this industry has attrition, we need to be conscious of the fact that a learning journey cannot be more than 8 to 10 months long. So we had different aspects of leadership that need to be addressed. So these folks used to come together, a set of 50, 60 who used to come together and really go through each module. I pick up this month delegation as in this thing. Next month I would say performance management. Next month I would say probably conflict resolution. Pick up different aspects of leadership that they need to be trained on, and pick each of these topics every month. And before we even get them on, one of the key things that works again is you should have a business sponsor for all of this. The business should endorse this. Otherwise, many a times it just becomes an L&D's responsibility. So we definitely go back and ask for a specific business sponsor for all of this. So there is a business sponsor who really drives the agenda, who really makes that investment there and says, yes, I need 30 of my people here to be groomed or to be ready to take on the next level. And that's where we get them on the call, introduce them to the concept of what this learning journey is, send them newsletters, send the participants newsletters to just get them ready to accept this, and then we really pick on some of these learning journeys. So clearly sponsorship, assessments are two of those aspects which make blended learning quite successful. The other important aspect is also about, I'm sorry, I think the slide is not too clear, but the fact that, they are going through this learning journey for almost 8 to 10 months, it's important to connect them in between those journeys as well. That's where we use conversation and social networking sites like Yammer and others to really engage them in conversations around this. So they learn a specific aspect around delegation, come back into the virtual class once in a month or twice a month for 2 hours, share their experiences, hear what other HR leaders speak about delegation. They go back into their respective workspace, apply that, again come back and share what worked well, what did not work well. And there are case studies, there are simulations, a whole lot of other supporting tools and environment that we provide in order to help them take each of that. And all of this is actually tied to their employee engagement scores. It's also tied to their competency or role-based assessment that we have, which really tells us, is it really working, not working, or how effective it is. And the concept of badging, I don't know if anybody has touched upon this last 2 sessions that we had. I mean, that's what is really important to keep the people motivated to take that 6 to 8 month journey, because they are all diverse. People are sitting on their desktops and going through it. There is no interaction that you would see, which you normally see in a classroom. So what is it that helps them stick to this? What is it that will help them go through this, keep themselves together for this 8 to 10 months is something that we need to also think about. We need to keep them motivated to go through this. And that's where we have something called we have a number of products in the market today. and this is the badging system that we are talking about. This is a skill badge that we have. We have the Credly, I don't know if you've heard about it. So it's essentially about anybody who completes 3 sessions successfully and has been rated well on his assessments gets a badge. And anybody, it could be a bronze badge, and anybody who has been able to complete it over the last 8 months gets something like a gold. And has contributed on the armor in terms of this conversations and helped others take on this, who have been actively engaging in conversations, probably gets another level of badging. So this is available on a virtual dashboard. So they get to see who is doing well, which of the peers, which of my colleagues are doing better, who is not doing better, and the managers get to see who is on track, who is not on track, which is what really keeps and drives some of the engagement process going as we take people on this virtual journey. So there are various aspects. There's a gamification that we have done to see how can we really use games to help project managers understand the importance of GOR or contribution margin. So through simulations we can do a number of things that can really help participants take on this virtual learning journey. So yeah, these are some of those examples that I thought I could share with you. And definitely a lot of it has been because there are assessments, because there are facilitators facilitating the conversation, the badging, the motivation concepts which really make them work. Do you have time or it's running out? This is just long, this is the last slide. I don't want to spend too much time on this. We'd rather take some questions, but very clearly I think it's no more about training records, training assessments, putting a tick on the box. It's about being able to create those ecosystem which will help us assess the performance of a people. You know, an apprentice, okay, you're an apprentice as an IT apprentice or a network apprentice, you're good if you have been able to complete a course. You're a master if your manager has been able to give you those marks. You are a practitioner if you have been able to pass on that experience to another 10 of them. I think we need to start looking at grading, looking at linking training to performance rather than just look at certificates and attendance and so on and so forth. That's very clearly, I see a focus shift, and I think I've seen many leaders talk about this. And technology clearly is going to rule the way we want to learn, the way we want to work. I'm sure we'll have an app to find out where the expert is. We'll have an app to find out where the trainer is. Learning Federation will be creating apps for the next few years. Very soon I see something like Facebook applications being linked to the learning management system. And then you get to see which content is most popular, which facilitator is the most popular, and then suddenly everybody wakes up and says, oh, okay, I'm being more visible now, let me do a better job of myself. And it was, it is okay to have a 360-degree report and just closely look at it and shut it, whereas I think in the years to come, what your credibility is something that will be known to everybody, and I'm sure that will change the way we look at life and look at people. Clearly, mobile devices and the GPS that we have enabled on all of our devices, that's another big advantage. I heard that MIT has come out with an application which will alert you on LinkedIn the moment you get closer to someone who has an expertise of what we have. If I am a Java specialist and if I get to go in a conference and I have someone next to me who is also of the same credibility, it's going to just alert me, and then I can just walk up to him and have that conversation. Clearly technology is rolling it, so I just wanted to I think we should embrace technology as learning professionals, otherwise I guess we will all get more obsolete. So thank you so much for that. In fact, I have